All right, welcome to our weekly WISE lecture series, week number 2. This week, it's my pleasure to be able to introduce our speaker. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to what he will share with us today. Just as a review, we're here as doing this weekly WISE lecture series, both live and online, for various purposes. For me personally, I sincerely believe that events change lives. That when we come to events, when we learn, when we grow, when we hear things and learn from each other, it causes us to see things a little differently, to gain a nugget here or there that helps us make different decisions. And those different decisions are what determine our destiny. And that's what changes our lives and who we will be and who we are and who we become. So that's part of why we do this. I also believe that the idea of personal development isn't just a nice idea. Yes, it is a nice idea. It does help us change who we are and get different results in life and things like that. But fundamentally, I believe that it's a characteristic of life's purpose. We are here on Earth, on this planet, and part of that purpose is to develop ourselves, to become the best that we can be, to learn and to grow. So that's what we're here doing today. And it's my pleasure to be able to introduce to you Ryan Armstrong. He is my brother-in-law. I married his sister. I did well in doing so. And I am grateful for his friendship, that I get to be a part of his family as well. He will be talking to us about suffering and healing. I'm very excited to see what he has to hear and learn what he has to share. And we'll be taking notes. I hope as you listen, you will find something that's a takeaway for you, something that stands out to you that can be meaningful, that you can apply in your life to make those daily decisions that are just somehow slightly better, somehow slightly different to improve yourself. Ryan, I know, is someone who cares deeply about becoming the best that we can be. He loves himself enough to invest in himself. And he's sought out mentors, he's sought out training, he's sought learning, and he's given his whole heart to that. Even in his professional work, in all that he does. So it is my pleasure to welcome him up and thank him for being here. So Ryan, take it away.
Thank you, Matt.
Glad to have you.
Thank you. Good. I love this. I love what we've created. I love the spirit that we have of commonality, of camaraderie, of belief in our goodness, belief in our ability to make ourselves better and to learn. So my comments today are mine, right? I just want to say to the audience that I hope you forget everything I say. That is, unless something resonates true for you, for in your heart specifically, then honor that truth. And so with that disclaimer, I feel like I can really open myself up. I mean to be really vulnerable today, really real and raw. So we are here on this earth, and we can look around and we can see that there is suffering, there is heartache, there is pain. We can tell that people are hurting. So the question is, how do we perceive that? What role does that play in our lives? What's the function? So I want to share an excerpt from a letter that I wrote. This is my 30-year-old self, which I turned 30 August of last year. I wrote this to my 20-year-old self. So this is to myself in August of 2004, in which I was very much struggling with depression. And so here's the letter. Dear self, today marks your 20th birthday. You are not excited about it. You are energetically condemning yourself for not being excited. You believe that this condemning is called humility. You also are certain that those around you are condemning themselves In your view, that is wholesome and proper. You have been given very harmful and incorrect information that you now honor as truth. So 2 women will present you with a cake today that they baked for your birthday. Truth is that they care about you and want you to be happy, but that's not how you perceive it. According to your perception, these women are mocking you. You believe they know your misery. You believe that they know of your misery, and they are condemning you for your failure to be happy. The cake represents to you the happiness you're convinced that you should be feeling. You believe that the only reason that you are not feeling happy is because you are choosing to be weak. In other words, you are not forcing yourself strongly enough to be happy. Your solution to this difficulty is to try harder to feel happy and to condemn yourself vigorously, which, besides sleeping, is pretty much the only thing that you're excited about. Also, according to your belief system, God is very angry that you are not excited about life and demands that you condemn yourself for your failure. By your understanding, he is unwilling to talk to you until you clean up your act, which means stop being distracted. Stop making any mistakes at all. Stop having negative feelings. You're convinced that he is furious at you for your imperfections, including getting hungry or tired, forgetting things, or wishing that you didn't exist anymore, etc. You wonder who hates you more, God or Satan. You conclude that it must be God because Satan wants your destruction, which sounds very relieving. You see, despite all of this, you truly do care about other people and enjoy, to a degree, your associations with them. You do enjoy serving them. You delight in hearing and seeing little children. You can believe that they are genuinely happy because they have not yet learned the facts of life. Your other belief about others is that some people appear to be genuinely happy. You are troubled and confused at this. You ask yourself, what don't they understand? And how did they manage to get this far and still be so ignorant? You try to convince yourself that they are very good actors, but you are unable to do this completely. This drudgery and pain that you call existence is actually something entirely different. You innocently, naively, and even nobly honor a web of lies that you have learned to call truth. You tenaciously and courageously pursue that which you understand to be correct. These lies are the source of your pain. This is a man who is doing everything in his power to be the best that he can, to do good, to serve others, to do what's right. And this man is suffering greatly. I can recall this letter now, and I can remember that truly was my experience. I remember hearing out of my own mouth some very despairing comments that I genuinely, sincerely felt in my heart. I don't feel them now, though. It's very different. The question that many people ask is, why does a loving God allow so much suffering? Now, many people ask this subconsciously and don't explore that question. I want to explore that question now. That question that many people have been avoiding because maybe it doesn't have an easy answer. Because what other reasons are there that people aren't willing to explore the question, why does God allow suffering? I think that merits some thought. So for me, as I reflect on this more, I recall that the real question underneath that surface was, how can I, in good faith, worship a God that allows people to do their best to serve him and get it so horribly wrong? Going further, I identified the belief that I had that would generate that question. And it was, God is haphazard, irresponsible, and apathetic towards all but a few select people. So what focus? Where do you put your focus to develop beliefs like that and this kind of energy? The suffering. I figured that out. The suffering was the focus. So as long as that is where the focus is, that's what we are believing. That's the reality that we're putting through our minds and our hearts, the suffering. And so many people try to put a rosy hue on the pain and the difficulty. They try to minimize the things. Oh, things aren't so bad. You know, oh, it. I mean, it'll. A lot of people entertain the idea that, oh, one day I'll overcome it. I'll die, and for those who believe in an afterlife, then I'll be healed. So I need to put up with it now, endure it now, and eventually it'll be resolved. Now, I want to ask a different question. But before we get to that, I want to say, as long as we're focusing on the suffering, we will never have a satisfactory answer to this question: why does a loving God allow so much suffering? So there's an example that I overheard a woman who was saying that she had a very hard time forgiving people who had abused others. She was thinking of sex offenders, and her statement, as best I recall, was that what they have done is just, especially to little girls, is just so horrid that I would have a really hard time forgiving them. Now listen to that sentence. What they have done is just so horrid that I would have a hard time forgiving them. The focus is on what they have done. Now, I want to say that, yes, those acts are heinous, are vile. They are horrid. We don't need to rosy color that part. What we need to do is ask another question, which I'm going to get to really soon. Another example, Elizabeth Smart, that was abducted, and she was abused again, time and time again, by her captors. And so there's a man that I admire, Dr. Paul Jenkins. He had the opportunity of working with her after she got back, of interviewing her. He is the host of a program called Live on Purpose Radio. And in that, they explore how she was able to shift her focus to the healing, and she lives a very abundant life now. And another example, a friend of mine witnessed his father's death. His father was run over by a train. And I remember him asking to me and to another man, he said, every time I get a new psychiatrist, he wants me to go through that. He wants me to ask, how did you feel when you saw your father's body lying on the tracks? He asked, how many times am I going to repeat that experience? How long do I need to keep reliving that? When do I get to move on and live my life? So it is the wisdom that I have gained since this time, since I came back from this experience, is that God's divinity within us flows to the tune. There's music, and the tune of that music is health, vitality, strength, enthusiasm, connection, wonder, peace, confidence, passion. That is where God lives. That is where God lives. Let's shift our focus to that, and we will find our answer. We will find a marvelous, amazingly satisfactory answer to the question of suffering. If we look for Him in worry, depression, fear, stoicism, which is what I practice oftentimes, is I don't feel my feelings. I just push through. I just push through. It doesn't matter what I'm feeling. I don't do that anymore. Fragile egos, control, obsession, addiction, appearances. He's not found in that energy. So often we get so used to suffering, and we often identify ourselves. That's our sense of identity. People, without realizing what they're doing, try to purchase things with their suffering, such as your worth, sympathy from others, notoriety, or privacy. So in that sense, suffering becomes a currency. And what is currency used for? It's to obtain something that is lacking. It's to acquire something you don't have. So if suffering is currency, that implies lack. So that's one way to look at suffering. It is my identity. It is who I am, or what I am called to experience, what I'm called to endure. So here's the new question that I propose to everybody. Let's ask this question. It's a lot more fun. What is God's higher plan? What is God's higher plan? So I think of an analogy of us being on an airplane ride, and we're in the middle of turbulence. We're in the middle of a storm. It's dark everywhere. The wind is blowing very hard. This is suffering, right? And what is the goal here? Is it to come down to the ground and to land and have everything stop? Or is it to rise above the clouds and get to a point where we look down on the suffering and see it for what it really is? Viktor Frankl, I love this book, Man's Search for Meaning. He said that suffering ceases to be suffering when we form a clear and precise picture of it. Again, suffering ceases to be suffering when we form a clear and precise picture of it. So here's what I envision, my friends. I envision a group of people all together who are celebrating life because they have been healed, because they see this higher vision, because what dwells in the heart is not pain, but courage, optimism, hope, confidence. In that group of people, there is one thing that is absent, and that is complaining. There are not people trying to vie for the greatest position, saying, you suffered for only 5 years and I suffered for 10. You maybe were miserable for a time, but I actually had a complete breakdown, and lost my family, or whatever it is. I don't believe there will be that comparison. And that comparison I did for many years. As I mentioned, a friend of mine who lost his father, when I learned the concept that my worth, the worth of a soul, is inherent in that person's being, it's not earned or lost, it's always there. When I learned performance has nothing to do with the person's worth, I was reflecting on that with him, and he said to me, you understand that when you're 20. And he was, I think, maybe 45 when he heard that truth. The whole time he had been living this lie that his worth was in question, that he was worthless. For 25 years more than me, that truth was kept from him. And for many times I felt guilty. I always felt a little bit of apprehension. And I thought that was me, my concern for him, my compassion for him. No, I don't believe that anymore. I believe that all are healed together and all celebrate in that healing. I found so much power, my friends, in owning my suffering. When I own my suffering, I'm able to change it. I've realized this past few months that when I project as concern for others, meaning holding on to a sense of apprehension, uneasiness, perhaps even guilt over others who I perceive to be suffering, others. Really, what that is, all that is me projecting my suffering onto the masses, who perhaps didn't really care to receive it. It's my projection. Once I realize that, I'm able to own that and change how I look at it. Now, when I see people, and I work at the state hospital, there are many people there who have had really hard lives, and who have made lives really hard for themselves, who have done many things that are contrary to the plan of happiness. And I see those people and I hear how convinced they are that they must suffer. And sometimes it affects me, sometimes it gets to me, but mostly I think I see a vision of this person doing what I did, being able to heal from this, being able to live in prosperity, health, vitality, strength, optimism, and hope. And I smile, think there's great potential for you, my friend. I feel great love for the person. So about this idea of projecting onto people, my wife gave me a really good analogy that I've really identified with. It's that imagine dog lovers. I love dog lovers. I don't love dogs. So imagine a dog lover who has so much joy with their pet, that's always there when they come home, that goes with them hiking, that goes with them camping, that sleeps at the foot of their bed and is there when they wake up and there when they go to sleep, and so much wonderful joy for that person. Imagine that person seeing us dogless and saying, oh, I feel so bad for you. I just love dogs, and you don't have one. You don't have a dog to love. We don't want a dog. So that would be someone projecting onto us what we don't actually want. We're happy without a dog. I'm convinced that probably might change, but probably will never want to own a dog. So that's when we take our suffering and project it onto other people. Consider those people might not readily want your suffering to be heaped on them. They perhaps don't want pity. Perhaps instead, there's something more that we can give people. I've realized that as I am able to alleviate my suffering, that enables me to help others much more than I ever could. It helps people to be cooperating with God instead of this idea of going around correcting his inadequacies, fixing his mistakes, which consciously sounds so bizarre to most believers. They would never consciously say, I'm going around fixing God's mistakes, but what is that trepidation, that worry, that fear? What is that coming from? Something is wrong. That's what we're going out to correct. We're going to fix these people's suffering. And we do it guilt. We feel guilt for our well-being. And we call that compassion. So many of these ideas only abide in the subconscious, but once you become aware of them, you see them for what they are, and you're willing to let go of them. For me, it's been a very conscious, deliberate experience to say to myself, yes, I've harbored these feelings of uneasiness and guilt, and I've called it compassion for others. I've done this for a very long time, and I identify with that feeling. It's my normal, comfortable operating feeling. And as I have told myself many times this mantra, the best way for me to help someone else is to live in my greatness, is to be whole, is to take care of myself. There's been a lot of resistance to that. I felt very uneasy saying I felt like I'm turning my back on these people because I know I've been there. I know what it's like to wish sincerely to stop existing, to dread everything in life. I know what that's like. And so I felt like I'm turning my back on these people. I'm abandoning my fellow human beings who are in a plight worse than my own. And those feelings come up, and I say, yes, that's my truth has been for many years. Now I'm grabbing a new truth. I'm honoring a higher truth. It's that me being fulfilled, whole, healthy, satisfied is the best way for me to help other people. And me being in lack serves no one. So, over time, I've repeated this, and it's really taken root in me. And it's so empowered that I get to live in happiness and fullness, and I get to share what I have with others freely, and they're free to accept it or not, as they so choose. It's a wonderful, amazing thing. Many people ask, in the process of changing a belief, in the process of adopting a new habit or changing a paradigm, many people will ask, and I was one of them, how long is this going to take? How much of this changing process, of this discomfort, do I need to bear to have the results that I want, to have the healing that I desire? I believe that's also the wrong question. Because what the goal is, someone who realizes that if you are suffering, what you must do is to embrace a higher truth. You must shift your focus. Now, much of healing takes a long time. It takes a great deal of patience and persistence. But there's one thing that all of us can do right now in this moment. We can put our focus on healing. And if we don't feel at all like celebrating, if we feel hopeless, if we feel helpless, what I encourage all of us to do is to say, which idea would I rather put my energy into? That I can heal or that I cannot heal? That I will be able to change this belief or that I will not be able to change this belief? Then we continue again to reinforce this positive belief. I am whole, I am healthy, I am happy. Reinforce it again and again and again. And if the whole time we're asking ourselves, how long is this going to take? Well, when that transformation happens, the question is going to change to how much longer am I going to feel at peace? How much longer am I going to feel confident? How much more of wholeness can I endure? We don't endure wholeness, we live it. We embrace it. We don't ever want that to end. So I want everyone to shift their focus from the discomfort of change to the higher truth. It's not, what am I changing from? Where am I going to? Set the vision, set the light, whatever is powerful and meaningful for you, whatever goal that matters to you, rather than a goal that you've been taught that you should want. Put that aside. Embrace what you truly want. Ask yourself, what do I want? Create that vision, put it up, and strive for it all the time. Now, this is a process. If I was to share any of the wisdom that I've gained from my experience, is to be patient. Be patient with yourself. You cannot stress that enough. Be patient with yourself and see the process through. Now, so I read a book by Lucinda Bassett, which impacted me very greatly, called From Panic to Power. That's one of the things that she taught. Be patient with yourself. Also to befriend yourself, to train yourself to see the good in yourself. And as I mentioned before, we don't need necessarily to look at our good appearances, to look at our good habits, our good behaviors, good associations, because that worth is inherent. It's independent of anything external. It's all internal. There's so much more power by bringing that worth from inside out, rather than from outside in. We're not going out to get something we don't have. By our actions, we are celebrating what we do have. So there's many things. There are many counterfeits in our lives. We all know counterfeit money. Now, for those who are trained to examine money, they know the key characteristics of valid currency and counterfeit money. Now, for those who are untrained, they are identical. Most of us would not know the difference if we were given a counterfeit bill that was done well. So as long as we lack that training, we will buy this counterfeit. We will support this counterfeit. We will trade it. We will invite it into our lives because we don't see it for what it truly is. I believe so many of God's godly attributes. And when I say godly attributes, I mean things that are inherent to our being have counterfeits. And as long as people are kept from the real thing, they'll continue to feed that counterfeit and wonder, why is life so hard? Why am I suffering when I'm doing everything right? It's because what we're honoring is the counterfeit. Every good thing has a counterfeit, I believe. Trust has permissiveness. Courage has recklessness. Confidence has arrogance. Humility has self-deprecation. Peace has apathy. Dedication has fanaticism. Resilience has, I don't know the exact word, but the phrase is spraying perfume over garbage. Is saying, oh, I'm not suffering, I'm just fine. Oh, I'm completely happy, right? Rather than acknowledging what is actually inside of us. Resilience is to embrace the disappointment that we feel, the discouragement, to acknowledge it, to love it, and to continue striving for what we want. So rest has indulgence. Many other things that temperance has laziness. Many other counterfeits that exist in our lives. So my plea with everyone, let's seek out those positive truths. Let's seek out the realness. Let's seek out vitality, health, life, love, confidence, power, passion. That is where God is. And if we'll shift our my friends, if we'll shift our focus to those things, there is where we will find God. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that, Ryan. That was awesome. I left my notes down there, but that was great. I wrote down a number of things and things to think about. So thank you. That was great. Appreciate him taking the time to prepare that, to share that with us. Part of his message and who he is, and that was wonderful. The next portion of this meeting is to talk a little bit about the business that's behind it. We are sponsoring this lecture series as part of our business that promotes a company called Strongbrook. And Ryan, you planning on presenting that? Right. Just wanted to make sure we had that coordinated correctly. Yeah. So I am going to ask Ryan to come back up and talk a little bit about that. We both are aligned with this company called Strongbrook. It's a personal and financial success company focused on empowering people to become their best selves, to live their best lives that they can live, as well as have the financial means to live their dreams, to live their passion, to live on purpose. And so with that, I'll bring you back up and let you talk about that for a little bit.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you to our audience here. We love you. I have adopted a title for myself. I'm the emissary of empowerment. I have identified that this is really central to my life mission, to what gives me satisfaction. Strongbrook is dedicated to empowering people, and they have 3 pillars there are 3 services, primary services that the company offers, and these are what the company's built on. All of them are designed to empower people. The first is facilitated real estate. Now, what is unique about that, many companies do real estate, but what is unique about Strongbrook is that they have commoditized real estate. And you would ask, how can you commoditize such a volatile thing, such a variable thing as real estate? They have 5 profit centers for each investment. I mean, it's a very small little, tiny little box that they're willing to invest in because they've done it over and over and over and over again and proven this system. There are some people experience some bumps. By and large, this investment strategy always delivers. So their philosophy is, rather than have people learn about it, and maybe some of them do it, and some of them tank at it, it's, we'll do it for you. We're trained on exactly what it looks like, on the exact ins and outs, and the exact specifications of what makes a successful investment, and we'll do that for you. So, and just to clarify, Matt and I are business developers for Strongbrook. We do not facilitate the real estate. We share the message. And so one thing that I love about the facilitated real estate, it's designed to help ideally tenants who are able to come in and who have hurt, their credit's been hurt by being a medical issue or being laid off from their job or something, and ideally they come into the house and they're able to restore their credit, and as they fuel the financial freedom of the investor. So Strongbrook is mostly looking for investors in that arena. So that's how it started, and after a few years they developed the opportunity, a business opportunity. So the idea of being an entrepreneur is a very foreign idea to a lot of people who are trained. Find a safe and secure job, work at it, invest in your retirement plan that is provided for you by the job, and stay there year after year, putting into that. And that was certainly, Strongbrook isn't opposed to that, but it offers another approach, another idea, another solution: entrepreneurship. That you, in your mindset, are able to shift yourself into a business person. You're able to use the framework that they've already created and take it your direction. And that's what we're doing with the Weekly Wives. It's very empowering to be your own boss. Many other good things that we could say about entrepreneurship. But honestly, what I really am passionate about is not those first two pillars, although I am part of the product of those. We are using those pillars for our financial goals, for our emotional goals, our family goals. What I'm really passionate about, my friends, is the mentoring program. Mentoring. Now, at core, what that means is you go find people who are successful, who you judge. You make the judgment that someone is a success. And you go to that person and you say, you are a success. You are someone I want to emulate. You are someone who can teach me more of how I want to be, how I want to feel. Go look for those people. And The Richest Man in Babylon by George Clason, he says, don't ask of the bricklayer how to make shields, right? Don't ask the bricklayer how to make shields. Go to the shield maker. He will teach you what you want to know. Don't ask poor people how to be wealthy. Don't ask miserable people how to be happy. Go to the happy. Go to the wealthy. And the mentorship is designed to bring people together in a community of people who are continually believing in themselves, to continually live their purpose, to uncover and live their purpose, and to reach out to people who can help them get there. And what do you do when something is working for you, when something is benefiting your life? What do we want to do? We want to share that with other people. And so people are encouraged. I myself am becoming a mentor in that program. As I receive mentorship, develop my specific message, I am in a better position to help others as well. So it's a continual benefit to everybody. Now this system, to be a part of this community, there is a small price to pay. It's a $99 a month subscription. And that subscription will give a customer access to tons, dozens presently, and it keeps growing all the time, dozens of mentors who have eked out success in their life. People that you may have heard of, may not have. Les Brown, Kevin Harrington, Roger Salam. Most of these people I hadn't heard of, but when I heard them speak, especially Les Brown and Roger Salam, I felt their energy. I felt their success. It was evident that they were living an abundant life. They were having fun with life. And I realized if they can do it, so can I. But not only that, I can do what's best for me. I can do it even better because I'm going to do it I'm going to live my life the best way. So that's what you get for a $99 a month commission or subscription. Plus, you get access to mentoring symposiums. There's monthly meetings that they invite a guest speaker to share their message. Kind of similar to what we're doing here with these weekly Whys. And these are free to people who are part of the mentoring network. Also, there are extra programs and deals, some of which are separate to other mentors, but you learn of those through this mentoring network. You can participate, be a part of this community. And people who identify this message of believe in yourself, find your passion, live on purpose, live abundantly. People who want to share that with people and build their financial future can use this as a business opportunity, can build a team of people under them who believe in themselves and believe in empowering people. So my business is, our business is Promote Empowerment. And Matt and Bonnie's business is Peaceful Prosperity, because we've identified that this is what we want to create, empowerment and prosperity. And so with the mentoring program, we encourage you, if you are willing to invest in yourself, if you are willing to dare to dream and believe that your life can be great and abundant and happy and successful, you can be connected, you can have a great marriage, you can have financial freedom. If you're willing to entertain these wild ideas, then come join us. You will be part of this community of people who support you in that. And the more that you associate with people who believe in themselves, the more you will start to believe in yourself. The truth is that I've found is that freedom is here and here. It's in your heart and your mind. It's an internal experience. And when people have internally freed themselves, then externally their lives come to start to improve inevitably. So we encourage everyone to be a part of this, who would like to be. And we're also looking for friends. We're looking for other people who want to present at these weekly Whys. So if something has resonated with you and you have a specific message that you want to share, please contact us, and we'll set you up with a date that you can share your heart with other people. So those are the 3 pillars of Strongbrook. And now we have some Ben & Jerry's ice cream.
Awesome. Thank you, Ryan. So with that, we'll conclude our meeting. And I do have a little something for you. Some classic fish food from Ben & Jerry's. Enjoy.
Come get the real thing.
If you want it for reals, I'd love to have you here in person. And we'll be enjoying some of this. But again, hopefully, Ben & Jerry's can maybe bring you out to enjoy some, but hopefully the messages and the mission and becoming who you want to be will be an even stronger drive for you to participate with us in the weekly Whys, in the mentoring network if that resonates with you, in the facilitated real estate if that resonates with you, in the business opportunity if that resonates with you, whatever's right for you. So thank you. Appreciate your time. Appreciate you being with us. Have an excellent week. Next week, we will be having Jason Isaac speaking to us about habits. And his topic is habits, life's autopilot. So I'm looking forward to hearing from him, being our guest speaker. And until next week, have a great one.